The paradox of pursuit, why the more you want, the more you suffer. Have you ever chased something so hard that you lost sight of why you were chasing it in the first place? Maybe it was love, success, peace of mind. You told yourself, if I just get this one thing, I'll finally be okay. And so you ran toward the relationship, the goal, the body, the recognition. But as you got closer, something strange happened. The goal moved. The peace you imagined didn't arrive. Or worse, you got what you wanted and still felt empty. That's the paradox. And it's not a failure of your effort, it's a failure of your understanding. Because Taoism teaches us something radical. The more you chase, the more you lose. This isn't just poetry. It's a deep, universal pattern you've already felt in your bones. The more you try to force someone to love you, the further they drift. The more you obsess over success, the more anxious you become. The more you try to be happy, the more you're haunted by the fact that you're not. So what's really happening here? Taoism, the ancient Chinese path of harmony and flow, tells us that chasing creates resistance. It pulls you out of alignment with the natural rhythms of life. The Tao, or the way, is not about efforting your way to peace. It's about stopping, about listening, about allowing what is already trying to come through you, instead of blocking it with your obsession to control.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let me ask you something very real. What are you chasing right now, and what are you afraid would happen if you stopped? Think about it. Not just on the surface, but deep down. Are you chasing money because you love abundance or because you fear being irrelevant? Are you chasing a perfect relationship because of love or because you fear being unworthy alone? Are you chasing purpose because it moves you or because you're terrified of insignificance? That distinction is everything. Because Taoism tells us that when we chase from fear, we invite suffering. And yet, this is the dominant mode of modern life: hustle culture, productivity obsession, toxic self-help. Everyone's sprinting, but no one knows where. No one's asking why. The Tao asks you to stop, not to give up, but to wake up, to feel the difference between forcing and flowing, between pushing and allowing, between chasing and receiving. Picture a river for a moment. Water doesn't chase the rocks. It doesn't fight the bends. It flows effortlessly because it trusts the path. And in that trust, it reaches the sea. You are meant to flow like that. But somewhere along the way, we were taught to climb instead, to conquer instead of cooperate, to chase instead of channel. And now we're exhausted, wondering why we're burning out, even when we're doing everything right. But I want to tell you a story from Taoism that changed my life. There was once a man who loved butterflies. He would spend hours trying to catch them running, jumping, grasping at the air. But the more he chased, the more they flew away. One day he sat down under a tree, exhausted. And as he grew still, something miraculous happened. The butterflies came to him. They landed on his shoulder, his hands, his heart. That is the Tao. The moment we stop grasping, life begins to offer itself to us. You see, the Tao isn't against ambition. It's against attachment. When your desire becomes an obsession, you become blind to the present moment. You become disconnected from what's already here. And ironically, it is this disconnection that makes you unworthy of the very thing you're trying to earn. You chase peace, but your inner state is chaos. You chase love, but you're filled with fear. You chase truth, but you refuse to be quiet enough to hear it. So what's the solution? Taoism gives a shocking answer: do less. Want less, be more. This is what the ancient masters called wu-wei non-doing, or effortless action. And it doesn't mean passivity. It means aligning your actions with the natural flow of reality instead of fighting it. It means letting the current carry you instead of thrashing around in panic. And here's the wild part: when you stop chasing, you don't get less in life. You get more clarity, more creativity, more love, more freedom, because now you're not blocking the river with your fear. You're moving with it. Let me ask you now, with full sincerity, what would happen if you stopped chasing? What would rise from the silence? What would reveal itself in the space you've never allowed to exist? That's not a rhetorical question. Sit with it, because it holds the very key to your peace. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I have to chase. If I don't hustle, I'll fall behind. If I don't try, I'll lose. And I get it. That's what the world teaches. But Taoism flips the script. It says, when you let go of what you think you need, you make room for what's actually meant for you. Not everything you want is aligned with who you really are. Sometimes the chase is your ego trying to outrun the truth. And the truth is, you are already whole, already enough, already worthy. So what do we do then? Just sit around? No, we act, but from a different place, and from stillness, from presence, from alignment. You don't stop moving, you stop struggling. You don't stop wanting, you stop grasping. You don't stop dreaming, you stop demanding. And suddenly the world starts responding. Because now you're no longer fighting it. You're no longer fighting yourself. Let me offer you a final metaphor for this part. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you squeeze it tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it stays. That's how life works. That's how Tao works. The tighter you grip, the more you lose. But when you open your hand, you begin to receive. So here's the paradox of pursuit. The more you chase, the more you affirm you don't have. The more you let go, the more you realize you already do. That's not philosophy. That's physics of the soul. The pathless path, how letting go leads you exactly where you need to be. So if chasing makes us lose, then what guides us? What leads us to the life we're meant to live, the joy we're meant to feel, the clarity we're meant to embody? Taoism answers that with one of the most mind-bending and beautiful ideas in all of philosophy, the pathless path. It's not a metaphor, it's a direct challenge to your entire worldview. Because we've been taught since childhood that life is a straight line. You start here, you go there, you make plans, you set goals. You build step by step, brick by brick. But the Tao doesn't work like that. It doesn't move in straight lines. It spirals. It flows. It curves and bends and doubles back. In fact, the moment you think you've figured it out, the Tao changes direction. And that's what makes it so alive. Let me ask you something deep. What if you never needed a path? What if the very idea of figuring it out is the thing keeping you stuck? Think about how many hours, days, years you've spent trying to create a perfect vision of your life, only to see it crumble or shift when reality arrived. We all want certainty. We want to know we're on the right track. But Taoism whispers something wild. There is no track. There's only the moment. There's only presence. There's only the next breath. And when you stop demanding a map, something strange happens. You start to feel your way forward. Not with logic, not with planning, but with alignment, with intuition, with something deeper than thought, your connection to the Tao. This is where the teaching of Wu Wei effortless action becomes more than just a concept. It becomes a lifestyle, a revolution. Because what Taoism is inviting you into is a way of moving through the world where you begin to trust that the river knows where it's going even if you don't. You stop asking, what's the next step? And start asking, where is the energy flowing right now? You stop asking, how do I win? And start asking, what feels most alive? That shift changes everything. Because now you're not reacting from fear. You're responding from presence. You're not chasing. You're following. And the moment you do that, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a conversation. One where the universe speaks through signs, synchronicities, nudges, gut feelings, and moments of stillness. Have you ever had a moment where you just knew something was right, not because it made sense, but because it resonated? That's the Tao speaking. That's the pathless path unfolding in real time. But here's the paradox. You can't follow the Tao while trying to control it. You can't move with the river if you're still clinging to the shore. And that's why letting go is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning. Letting go of the illusion of control. Letting go of the belief that you have to fight life to be worthy. Letting go of the identity you built around chasing. Because when you let go, you don't become lost. You become open. You become available. And that availability emotionally, mentally, spiritually is what allows the Tao to move through you. It's what allows effortless action to arise. And that action, unlike forced action, is graceful. It's creative. It's in harmony with the pulse of the world. Imagine creating, loving, working, and living from that place, not out of desperation, but out of resonance. Not out of fear, but out of flow. Let me offer you a real-life example. Imagine someone chasing love. They're constantly seeking the perfect partner, overanalyzing texts, trying to be more attractive, more impressive, more desirable. They're always looking, always adjusting, always doubting. And yet, love remains elusive. Why? Because their entire energy is rooted in lack, in control, in fear. But now imagine someone who truly lets go. They focus on their joy. They cultivate presence. They live their truth. And then, one day, love appears not because they chased it, but because they became the kind of person love naturally flows toward. That's the pathless path. It's not about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you really are and letting what's meant for you find you. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. So now I ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped chasing and started listening? If you stopped asking, how do I make this happen? And started asking, what wants to happen through me? That's not passivity. That's co-creation. That's the Tao dancing with your consciousness. And when you get quiet enough, soft enough, still enough, you can feel it. You can feel that there's a deeper intelligence moving through everything, through the trees, the wind, the seasons, the silence. And it's moving through you, too, not with pressure, but with presence. Not with commands, but with whispers. The Tao is not a doctrine, it's a dance. And the only way to join it is to stop trying to lead, stop trying to control the music. Just move, just be, just feel. That's the pathless path. And the more you trust it, the more beauty shows up in your life, not because you demanded it, but because you made room for it. Because you stopped filling every space with your plans and allowed life to surprise you. That's the other great secret of this way. The Tao doesn't just give you what you want. It gives you what you didn't know you needed. And when it arrives, you'll laugh, you'll cry. You'll realize that the whole time you were chasing something, the real treasure was already here waiting for you to slow down, to stop, to see. And so I leave you with this. Are you willing to stop running long enough to be found? Are you willing to be still long enough to hear the guidance that's already speaking? Are you willing to trust, for even one day, that maybe life knows better than your plans? If you are, then you're already walking the pathless path. You're already stepping into the Tao. And everything you've been chasing might already be chasing you. The wisdom of surrender, why not trying, is the highest form of power. What if everything you've been taught about strength is wrong? What if the most powerful people in the world aren't the ones who conquer, dominate, or control, but the ones who surrender? Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Not because they've given up, but because they've woken up. This is the final twist in the Taoist secret. The part that's so counterintuitive, it breaks the brain. We're told since childhood that the strongest people are the ones who try the hardest, who never give up, who grind through the pain and push past the limits. But the Tao tells us a different story. It says, true power is not in effort. It's in alignment. And alignment doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from not trying at all. Now pause. Let that hit. Not trying. That sounds like laziness, doesn't it? Like giving up. But it's not. Not trying doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing without forcing. It means acting from the deepest part of yourself, the part that's already connected to everything. The part that doesn't need to prove anything, impress anyone, or chase any outcome. It's the part of you that simply knows, because it's in harmony with the Tao. Imagine a martial artist who moves fluidly, effortlessly, with no wasted motion. Their power doesn't come from brute strength, it comes from sensitivity, from feeling, from responding to the flow, not resisting it. This is what Taoism calls Wu Wei in its highest form, action that arises from presence, not pressure. It's not about sitting on a couch doing nothing all day. It's about doing the right thing at the right time in the right way because you're tuned in. You're listening, you're available. And that availability, emotional, mental, spiritual, is what allows real action to emerge. Not mechanical action, not habitual action, but living action. The kind that changes lives, the kind that feels like grace. So what does it actually mean to surrender in daily life? It means letting go of your obsession with results. It means releasing the constant inner monologue that says, I have to fix this, I have to get there. I have to make it happen. It means trusting that life has a deeper intelligence than your plans. And when you surrender not in defeat, but in trust that intelligence begins to guide you, you stop pushing, you start listening, and things begin to unfold in ways you never could have predicted. Let me ask you something radical. What if the next breakthrough in your life doesn't come from trying harder, but from letting go completely? What if the love you've been chasing is waiting behind the wall of your effort? What if the clarity you seek is already here, if only you'd stop thinking so loudly? We're so addicted to effort that we don't realize how much it's blocking us. We think pushing equals progress, but sometimes the pushing is what's causing the pain. Taoism teaches that everything has its own timing, its own rhythm. You can't force a tree to grow faster. You can't rush a sunrise, and yet we try to rush our lives. We try to force clarity, force healing, force meaning. But the Tao says, when you stop forcing, life starts flowing. There's a beautiful phrase in the Tao Te Ching: the soft overcomes the hard. Water, the softest substance in the world, wears down mountains. It flows around obstacles. It yields, and in doing so, it triumphs. That is the wisdom of surrender. It's not passive. It's not weak. It's the deepest kind of power, the power that doesn't need to control, because it's already in harmony with all things. And now, I want to get even more personal. Look at your own life. Where are you still forcing? Where are you still trying to control what can't be controlled? Where are you resisting what is, instead of working with it? It might be in your relationships, trying to make someone love you a certain way. It might be in your career, trying to force a path that no longer fits. It might be in your self-image, trying to become someone you think you should be, instead of loving who already are. What if surrendering in those areas isn't a loss, but the beginning of your real life? Because here's the ultimate irony: when you surrender, you don't become passive. You become powerful. You become clear. You start to act from inspiration, not desperation. Then from truth, not ego. And the actions that come from that place, they're unstoppable, not because they overpower reality, but because they align with it. Let's take this even deeper. What does surrender feel like? It feels like peace. It feels like silence inside your chest, but like breathing without tightness, like moving without fear. It feels like being perfectly okay with not knowing, like trusting that the next step will reveal itself when it's time, like living as if everything is already okay, because at the deepest level, it is. And what does not surrendering feel like? It feels like gripping, like fear, like anxiety, like trying to hold the ocean in your hands, like never being able to rest because you're terrified of what will happen if you stop trying. You felt both. One leads to suffering. The other leads to freedom. So here's the final question I'll leave you with. Are you brave enough to stop trying? Are you wise enough to surrender, not because you've failed, but because you've finally understood that life was never something to conquer, but something to trust? That's what the Tao has been whispering all along. It's not a path you walk by effort, it's a current you join by letting go. It doesn't reward the chaser, it welcomes the still. It welcomes the one who can say, I don't know where I'm going, but I trust where I am. And from that trust, everything follows. The right people, the right timing, the right flow. Because now you're not fighting the river. You're floating with it. And in that surrender, you don't lose everything. You find everything you never knew was already yours. So stop chasing. Let go. Trust the Tao and watch what unfolds.